Hindu Nationalism, Part 1. Anatol Livin is a professor at Georgetown University in Qatar and a senior fellow of the New America Foundation in Washington, D.C. He is the author, among other books, of America, Right or Wrong, and Anatomy of American Nationalism, and Pakistan, a Hard Country. The election victories of Narendra Singh Modi Hindu Nationalism Party, the Bharatiya Janata Party or BJP, and its allies in India are in some respects the greatest moral and intellectual blow that Western liberalism has suffered in Eurasia since the end of the Cold World War. That this effect has been so widely ignored by the Western media and commentariats is yet another testimony to their ability to ignore the inconvenient for the sake of US geopolitical priorities. Because India is seen as an increasingly important ally against both China and Islamist extremists, they have intentionally ignored it. The drive of these parties for Hindutva, an Indian state and citizenship defined by the aversion of the Hinduism, heralds what seems likely to be a key feature of the international scene in the coming decades. Powerful nation states led by the governments that are elected more or less depending on the case, but also have strong authoritarian tendencies, resting on a strong, though assiduously shaped and cultivated popular sense not only of nationalism, but of cultural distinctiveness as well. It is dedicated to national success through participation in global capitalism, but equally determined to resist the forces of globalization whenever they threaten the ruling orders and definitions of national interest and national civilization. The shock to liberalism comes not only from the fact that the fundamental principles of Hindu nationalism are so completely opposed to those of liberalism except in the economics. Even more importantly, Hindu nationalists have been elected in the world's largest democracy and by growing majorities. This sets the old liberal commitment to cultural freedom and national progress in flat contradiction to the supposed commitment of the liberals to democracy. Finally, India has been advanced by both US neoconservative and US liberal internationalists, in the end often much the same thing as the linchpin proposals for a global alliance of democracies led by the USA. Hindu nationalism is genuinely popular force, mobilized from below. Its origins may lie in the reaction against colonial rule and the threats to the position of Hindus upper caste, but in the recent years it has been associated with economic development. Unlike in Russia or China, the adherence of many Indians to this ideology cannot be blamed on manipulation by wicked authoritarian elites. On the contrary, by far the greater part of the 70 years since independence, India was ruled by the Congress Party, which the Congress Party in fact stood, or if not stood, claimed to stand for a civic, pluralistic version of the Indian identity. It was supported by secular sections of India's English-speaking economic, intellectual and bureaucratic elites, and was and is led by the hereditary political dynasties of the Nehru-Gandhis drawn from those elites. I'll tell you more about the same in my next video.